So this week we're going to talk to a really good friend of mine, love him to death. He was the type of person that we liked to have on our squad because he brought people together. He made them laugh, and he wasn't afraid to show up to the calls and learn the lessons that you learn when you work, basically. However, unfortunately, he was one of the primary officers there for a horrific incident that happened in his department. And I say unfortunately, but that's just because it leaves such an imprint on you. I know that he would want it to be there, and anybody that was there wants to respond to those things. But to see such vast reverberations throughout a squad that to me are always going to be rookies, and this is years after the fact. So he was what you would call a senior officer at that point. Is just to see that vast change in a squad. It was witnessing the death of who they were. So even though we were mourning losses and worried about other officers and stuff like that, at the same time, it was almost like witnessing the funeral of all of these cops and who they once were, because they were going to be forever changed by it. So, without going into the details, though, I will let him do his narrative and his thing. He does an awesome job. Hope you guys enjoy, and happy late New Year. I think that's what choir practice has been in the past, so really that's all this is.
Just big trauma dumps.
Yeah, except for lots of alcohol and nobody remembers afterwards.
I mean, I think that's the whole point of a trauma dump, right? If you remember it, is it really a trauma dump?
I don't know.
Like if you do a choir practice like nowadays, how many people in that choir practice have the ability to trauma dump?
Because they're so new and like shining bright, and they haven't like had their world crushed.
Like their idea of the world hasn't been absolutely stolen from them.
That's true. That's true. I say it lighter. I say they haven't had their shine knocked off. You're all like, they haven't had their souls crushed and decimated.
The Grim Reaper hasn't come through and swept their existence to nothingness.
Well, I'll say most of the new guys I remember like, oh, hey, their shit has changed, and now, okay, they can come to choir because they have been decimated.
They've entered the wasteland.
I don't remember if I was over you when you were really new or what.
So
you were brand new.
When I was brand new at the time, we were still on 10s, and you were over 30 side, and I was unfortunately put on 40 side. I really don't know.
Who's that nerdy kid?
I don't know how I snuck my way into the groups that I've snuck my way into. I'll be honest with you.
You got in with the cool crowd. Just kidding.
No, we're the cool crowd, 100%.
Just because we're in it. It's cool.
It's us. We're cool. No, I don't know what I don't remember what the process was for that. I don't think there was like a big interview where everybody was like, hey, dude, answer this questionnaire. It's going to determine your future.
We determined, we were gatekeepers of, has he been traumatized enough? Okay, all right, he's ready to come drink and do some crazy shit.
That guy's got a dark past. Yep. We want him.
Yep, that's exactly what it was. These people that see life for, rainbows and unicorns and stuff, it's like, no, that's not our people.
You can't work with that.
No. You can't have the correct amount of graveside humor with that kind of mentality. Do you know your first choir? Was it out at a bar or was it?
I think it was at Drake's, my first choir. Yeah.
I think that's when I took that sabbatical because I'd been promoted and I was like, only back off from this group.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually gone out with y'all much. But yeah, I was like, where are y'all going? Drake's? Like, ooh.
The only other thing I remember is like stories of like people saying like, we were at Tessa's, we got drunk, we got in fist fights at Tessa's. It was a great time. Like, oh man, I wish I could get invited to that shit.
I think that you were, and that was one time way after you had already been invited to the choir practices.
Is it really a choir practice if no one got hurt?
No.
Or if nothing got destroyed?
Or almost died.
Yeah,
you gotta almost die.
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 criteria for a good, solid choir practice, and you gotta meet all 3. If you're only hitting one of them...
I once had a civilian friend that came to a choir practice. She came out to one of our choir practices back in the day, when it was at this really awesome bar that doesn't exist anymore. And she ended up having to get an IV by one of the Himsy people that were there. And she had to go to class at like 8 a.m. the next day. So she went to class and they're like, what is wrong with you? And there's like blood all over her outfit because she hadn't changed. She was like, I went drinking with the cops.
It's like, what happened? Let's break it down.
But she's like, I felt amazing.
It's a great time.
I wasn't hungover at all.
I mean, I think that's similar to like our drinking parties in the Army, though. Like we had the medics who would bring IV bags and everything, and at the end of the night, it'd be like, I'm hammered. You're going to have to IV me. And then they get their practice in.
Yeah, that's true.
And now there's IV bars. You can just, go to some location, some warehouse basically, and have somebody stick you with an
I
IV.
think
You're paying like $120 for an IV bag.
yeah, but some days, man, I mean, after I hit a certain age, I
You're paying for convenience at
yeah.
that point. Yeah.
Yeah. You only go through the hangover. You were the guy that if you put together a good team, you have a role for everybody, right?
Mhm.
You were the guy that I would want on a team because you brought everybody else together. Because you weren't
Yeah.
afraid to be the butt of the joke, so you'd make yourself the butt of the joke, and
100%.
it'd bring everybody else together. And so
Yeah.
that was the role that you played on a team. I'm not saying you play other roles, but for me, that's a pretty pivotal role to play. You did well at it, over there on the side of town.
Yeah.
I hear you do shit at it now, so I can't really say
God awful.
that was why I liked you. I was like, that kid, he's not afraid to joke on himself, so he's
Yeah.
all right. So I think that's why you got in that inner circle so quickly. Because
Yeah.
if you can make fun of yourself in a situation and be okay with just other people laughing at stuff, then
Yeah, I think that
that's a
boils
hell of a
down to a
character
lot of
trait.
confidence too. A lot of people aren't confident in the fact that like, hey, you make mistakes. That's going to destroy some people.
Yeah.
I made a mistake.
Did not make a mistake.
I can't make mistakes. To
Mm.
me, I mean, life is all about mistakes, right? Like, I make mistakes every day. If you're not making a mistake, you're probably not trying hard enough.
I probably made a mistake in coming here today and doing this podcast.
Oh, I'm sure. I couldn't see anything driving here. It's a miracle I didn't get in an accident. That's sober.
Oh God. Well, at least the drinks are okay.
If I start choking on marshmallow, please, homing maneuver.
Dude, I've never put so much marshmallow on the rim before, and that sounds really dirty. Probably now if I hear it back on a podcast.
There is marshmallow
Thanks.
all over the rim.
And Christmas red and white perils. What do you call them? They're not perils. They're
Perils? Can you spell that?
similar to that. Little
Sprinkles?
yeah, but they're not sprinkles.
Well, they're kind of like sprinkles.
They're called something fancy. Well, I don't know what the word is.
We can dumb it down. We'll call it sprinkles.
Feels wrong, but okay.
Pinky's out.
Well, we're drinking the special Christmas drink tonight. The introductory Christmas season drink tonight.
We're going to have a name for it.
Well, we kind of changed it. So, what do you want to name it?
We did change it, huh? We added eggnog.
I've got a dirty one. But
No, go ahead, by all means.
Come, all ye faithful, see you win, because that's
course.
what it kind of looks like with a
Right,
little bit
right.
more of a.
Yeah, I'll have you know, mine is like a brown, sloshy
Ew.
liquid substance.
Okay.
This is a Yuletide log.
Why is yours? Oh, the perils.
yeah,
the sprinkles.
The perils.
But all right. So, anyways, you've been with the department for how long now?
It's been a little over 8 years.
Guess you can get into that senior status.
Sure.
I feel like 6 years. That's what we usually say, right? 6
Yeah.
years is like, okay, cool, you're here, you're established. But like 10 years is like, ooh, you're
Yeah, 10 years are
solidified.
invested, right?
Yeah.
Like I'd
You're either
say like
staying or you're not.
yeah. I think like modern day, like a lot of people want to say like 5 years you're in and like you're
Yeah.
not leaving, right? But I think that's kind of like a change of the tide too, like everything I heard when I first got here was like you guys will never get first shift. You got to do 15 years on seconds before you go anywhere important. And now like 8 years in, it's like, oh, you want first shift? 2 years.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
It's insane.
Because then you don't get the experience. You think first shift guys are like, oh, they're just salty. It's like, no, they just got there in 2 years. They
Yeah,
haven't done shit yet.
they're all just brand new still.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, and it seems like a lot of the senior guys, so to speak, are like, how do I get off patrol? So all your senior abilities go into the specialized units to some extent.
Yeah. I feel, again, maybe it's because I'm more detached and everything now, but like there's more senior or there's less senior leadership on patrol. Like, and I don't mean by senior leadership like people that have been there for a long time, but people that actually choose that leadership role of being a good cop and being proactive and actually teaching people.
Yeah, I'll agree to that. I mean, I think as far as like when I was on second shift, I mean, I'll name drop him, Kevin.
Yeah, fucking rock star.
Like, love Kevin to death. Taught me majority of everything I know. Some good, some bad, right?
How that man has never graduated from Bud Light? What is it that he drinks? Michelob? No.
Yeah, Michelob. He's a big Michelob drinker. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who has been there, done that. I mean, that's the guy.
Yeah.
For whatever situation it is.
Yeah.
I know even now, I haven't talked to Kevin in 6-7 months, and I can still call him up and be like, hey, Kev, what's going on? What help? Here's the situation I'm in. What can you help me with? And it doesn't matter how hammered he is or anything along the lines, how many road sodas he's popped. I can count on Kevin to give me some kind of an answer. But I think nowadays, there's a little bit of a difference because you're talking about a guy with At the time I knew him, 12, 15 years of experience,
Yeah.
as opposed to now your senior guys 5, 6 years, maybe. And I get that's like a change of the guard for younger to older generations, but I think it's a disservice to a lot of new people. I think they're missing out on a lot.
Why do you think it changed? Like, why is a senior cop so young now?
I think a big part of it is, you can sit here and say patrol is the backbone of whatever department, and it should be. Patrol should be the backbone. It should be treated as such for whatever department, no matter if you've run a department of 30 people, a department of 300 people. I mean, patrol is the ones who are going out there doing everything. But I think when you get to a point where patrol feels neglected, you're going to have your
Mhm.
senior guys who've already been there, done that. They're going to get tired,
Yeah.
rightfully so. So they're going to leave. And then the next person that steps up, maybe they haven't been there, done that. And you're going to see a newer and newer generation every time try and take that role. They don't necessarily have the same finesse or the same experiences as the guys that have been there.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a disservice. I think, even generationally, like between Gen X, Gen Z, whatever, there's just a change. Whether it's positive or negative, it probably just depends on what your mindset is of all that.
So, what's your
Sure.
worst memory of the academy? What's the biggest or hardest day? And was it more difficult than military with your
Uh,
training going into military?
for the academy, I got to go home every night, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
like I think I never really felt like this is the end all be all because at the end of the day, I got to go home. Like in the military, I didn't get to go home.
Yeah.
Hey, after a rough day, you're going back to the bunks. Hey, guess what? 2 a.m. rolls around. It could be the worst day of your life again.
Yeah.
I didn't have to worry about any, TAs or training advisors coming into my apartment and being like, hey, get up. It's time to do stuff. I didn't really have that stress. But at the same time, I think the police academy is more physical than the military. You got the federal government who has a lot of rules and regulations about stuff. But I think on the like our level, as far as the city goes, like it's not necessarily as strict or rigid. It's kind of like hey, this is what we're doing. You can either do
Yeah.
it or you can suck.
Yeah.
And, I think the hardest day for me, I'll never forget. I've had not surgery on my knees, but I've blown the cartilage out in both my knees. From cross country, track, military, just running on like very poor pavement,
Mhm.
basically. Well, in the academy, you're going to run,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's just
Yeah.
part of it. You're going to do cardio. And I think you should do cardio as a police officer to begin with. Well, that hurts my knees. And one day my knees had flared up, bone to bone doesn't really go very
Yeah.
well. And we had to I'll never forget, we started laughing about the Pledge of Allegiance.
'Cause it's hilarious.
'Cause why not, right? Like, we say one joke, and then, a laugh spreads like a
Oh,
virus.
yeah, and then
It
you can't stop.
you can't stop. Once one person starts and then another person, it's gonna spread. And we did that, and it was probably 5 o'clock, and then the TAs were like, "You know what? We've got time today." And so we went out to the football field. I'd do bear crawls and
Oh,
lunges and all
yeah.
sorts of anything to agitate my knees, basically.
Mhm.
So my knees flared up, and I felt like a big old piece of shit because of it. I don't like I don't like being the focus of attention. I've never been a focus of attention kind of guy. I don't want to be the main one in the middle of the room. That's not how I operate. Doesn't mean I'm middle of the pack, but I don't want to be spotlight either.
Why do you think you don't like it?
I don't know. Probably just because of how I was raised. Like, I'm just not a spotlight kind of guy. I'm fine with pushing someone forward and being like, "Hey, look how great this guy is."
Yeah.
I've never been one to be like, "Hey, look, I've done all this cool stuff."
Yeah.
Even now, I'll never go around and tell people, "Cool, you did that. Well, this is what I did."
Yeah.
That's not who I am. I don't feel like that's appropriate, but at the same time, I also feel like, hey, like I'm in a position where I get to do cool stuff. It's not fair for me to like try and rub that into other people's faces who don't get to do the kind of stuff I do. Maybe I'm modest, right? Just a
Yeah.
modest person overall.
I don't think if you do the cool stuff and you know you do the cool stuff, you don't have to tell people.
I agree with that too. I think, you see a lot of these Navy SEALs nowadays that go on these podcasts and talk about a lot of stuff. You hear other Navy SEALs talk about them and they're like, that guy said, what?
Yeah.
He never did that, and you don't have to like embellish a cool story.
Yeah.
It's already cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the worst day was that day. We had made some lighthearted jokes right before going home. We all had the giggles, and then we got absolutely blasted for the next 2 hours.
Good, good. Well, I'll say, you know who was in my academy, and they were all pretty good hard asses.
Yeah.
I love 85% of my academy. You can guess the couple that I don't really like, that I don't respect at all.
I think
Yeah.
academies, no matter where you're at, whether it's like the Army or, Marines or boot camp,
Mhm.
police academies, I think there's always like a interesting mix of people. Like there's
Gets to be
always
trauma bonded.
not even necessarily trauma bonded because I think like an academy setting, like if that's your trauma, and
Yeah, that's true.
don't get me wrong, that is some people's like worst trauma. Like it's like okay, cool. If that's your worst trauma, you haven't done a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. We'll traumatize you more. Just hold on.
Yeah, just wait for the good stuff. But I think stuff like that. There's always a good mix of people,
Yeah.
and I think rightfully so. Like in the army, after basic training, specialized training, like when I got to my unit, all my best friends were from New York, the Bronx of all places.
Oh.
You never get those experiences. And even here, a lot of people aren't just from here, they're from
Yeah.
surrounding areas or even further areas.
Yeah. That is kind of odd being here, is that a lot of people aren't actually from here.
Yeah.
So, what was your first memory then outside of the academy where, I mean, like after you graduated, you were a cop
Hmm.
and you realized, like, shit, this is different. That you know how you can tell a call is like fucked up, and you're like, oh, this call's a little fucked up, but you don't really realize it at the time. Like, this probably affect me in years. In a few years, it probably affect me. What was like kind of one of your first like moments that you can think of?
I don't know if I can ever think of like a first like this is really fucked up. I can't believe like I didn't register this in my brain.
Yeah.
I think everybody's first dead body that's been dead for an extended period of time is
Yeah.
always a good one. I'm sure you've had one. I know on FTO phase I had one that had been dead for estimated like 11, 12 days.
That's the sweet zone right there where it gets super sour.
You,
Just hits
you
your
know, you, you just
nostrils.
you just go in there and all you get smacked with is the
Yeah.
scent of death and you're like, this is
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Especially if you've never dealt with anything like that
Oh.
before, and, that was the first time I've ever dealt with death from that distance, right?
Mhm.
From, like, a 14-day distance. I think one of the only other ones I had during my training phase was maybe the dude had been dead for, like, 4 or 5 hours,
Oh
you
yeah, that's
know?
not too bad.
Like, that's not terrible
Yeah.
at all, like, even if it was on the toilet. But a dead guy in his bed for 14 days in the middle of the winter with the heat on, that's
Oh, yeah.
rough.
That body starts melting into the sheets.
And I think that's probably like, as far as anybody can attest to, something similar to that is probably like a big turning point for them. Oh, this is real.
Why do you think that hits us weird? Like seeing those dead, I mean, because I think everybody has, like you said, that first dead body, and you're like, shit, and it is what it is. Whatever, they're dead. They've been there for a while, but for some reason that impacts everybody. But I don't really know why. What's your take on it?
I think a lot of people deal with death before they get here. I mean, I'll say I never really dealt with death before becoming a cop. Even in the army and my own personal life growing up, like I don't think that there was ever a situation where I had somebody who was like, "Oh, that guy you knew, he was dead," and "Oh, here's his dead body. Go look at it."
Oh yeah, that'd
You
be
know,
weird if it did happen that way.
you
Guess
know,
that's a funeral.
right? Like, I mean, sure, a funeral, but I didn't think I went to a funeral growing up. Whether that was like my parents' own doing or not,
Yeah.
my first experience with death was as a cop.
Mm.
And, that's probably true for a lot of people. And you're so detached from it. I don't think you get like a personal level of it until your five senses are hit with it, right? Okay, it's a dead body, and you're going to go, okay, I don't know this guy, it's a stranger. But when you see something like that, when you smell something like that, when you touch something like that because you have to help the funeral home move, those are all things that affect your senses. And if you've never experienced anything like that, which in my case I had never experienced anything like that, I remember the coroner going like, oh hey, this is cool about this, and then like the face like moving. It's like I've never seen anything like that. Even in the
Yeah.
army I didn't see anything like
Even
that.
the face is moving, like they moved the face because of muscles, or
Well, it's like they had been dead for so long that
yeah.
the skin just like melted
Oh, she.
off, and like as a fresh 21, 22-year-old, you're like, "Whoa."
Like, fuck, my face will do that?
Like, is this real life? Is this what we experience all the time? Of course you don't experience that all the time, but you're gonna have to come into those situations from time to time.
Now I feel kind of bad because that was one of my favorite moments was the rookies having to deal with the dead
Oh,
bodies.
I think if you're like an FTO or somebody who's
Yeah.
been there a long period of time and you see a rookie approach it, like, of course you're going to be like, oh, I've done this 100 times. This is your
Yeah.
first one.
Yeah.
You're
Go
going.
for it.
Yeah, I smell like death for probably the next 4 or 5 hours
Oh,
after the fact.
yeah. Sticks on your clothes. You're like, "Ugh,
Nobody tells you that stuff.
no."
You go to the next call and it's probably like somebody complaining because somebody cut them off. So you're trying to
Yep.
figure out what's going on with that.
And you're like, "What the fuck is that smell?"
You're
Like,
like,
"Oh, shit."
I smell like death.
A 12-day-old death. Yeah. Yeah, I got so mad one time because I was a couple years in, and I was so happy. I was like, "Oh, thank God. This person's been dead for a minute." Probably around the same time frame.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Fuck yes, I'm senior enough to let this guy go in there." He goes in there, and then of course, he turns around immediately and runs out and vomits all over the place. I'm like, "God damn it!
You can't do that.
I finally got the seniority, and now you can't even
You,
go in
you
there.
screw it all up. I got to go in there after you.
Can't even verify that there's a damn dead body in there."
Sorry, I made it to the front door. It was so disgusting. I puked
I
everywhere.
was
It's like, cool,
damn it.
wonderful. Now I have to step over your puke.
Mhm.
I have to
Yeah.
still go in there and clear the house.
Mhm. By myself. Didn't even get yeah, so I was pretty mad about that senior card I never got to play, but that's okay. I played many more after, but, alright, so dead body, that was your first, like, "Oh, shit." You think it was first, you're like, "Oh, this is fucking
Yeah.
real." What was your first, like, foot chase or somewhere you got your adrenaline kinda going and you're like, realized you could function? You know how it is, like, you finally get the validation, like, "Oh, shit, okay, I can function when my adrenaline's going,"
Yeah,
kinda thing?
I think you can't really take the training wheels off till you've done something similar to that, right?
Yeah.
Like until you get to that point of, oh fuck, this is in your mind a life or death thing. Like
Yeah.
obviously, like the longer you do this, the more you're like, that's not life or death. But as far as like first foot chase, I really can't remember for first foot chase. I know my first vehicle pursuit. We had just got a complaint during roll call. It was like, hey, this address is complaining about drug activity, go check it out. So, still in FTO phase. We drive down there. As soon as we go over there, we see a car parked in the middle of the road. So we get behind the car because they're in the middle of the road blocking traffic. We're like, oh, we'll check out. Guy looks back in the rearview mirror, keeps going. We're like, okay, I mean, this will be a good one. We light it up. Car takes off. I'm like, oh shit, we're in a pursuit. And your very first pursuit, you're like, oh, this is really cool. This is
Doing
really fun.
this.
But the whole time in your brain, you're like, I don't know what the fuck to say. I don't know what the fuck to do. I'm just gonna keep driving. The guy was driving crazy and everything, so we canceled the pursuit. Wound up finding the vehicle parked at a house, impounded the vehicle, called the owner of the vehicle, and she was like, "Oh yeah, my car was stolen." Come to find out, it wasn't actually stolen. She was covering for her boyfriend.
What? That doesn't happen?
That never happens.
No.
And it's then when you call them out on it, you're like, "Hey, if you make a false police report, that's a felony, right?" Like, just to let you know, like for your own information.
Mhm.
We find out you made a false police report, you might have a warrant for your arrest. And I'm like, well, it wasn't actually stolen. This whole story changes. I think for me, that was like the first adrenaline dump because you don't chase people in your regular day-to-day activities of a person, right? Like
No.
it's almost unnatural to an extent. For me, nowadays there's not a hesitation to it, but at the beginning it was like, shit, this is real. They're not stopping, Now it's like, oh, they're not stopping.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm gonna keep going. But my first couple of years, it was like you turn your blue lights on. You're like,
Yeah, very
la la la.
methodical,
You're like
like,
la 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 la. They're gonna stop because everybody stops because that's what they're
mhm.
supposed to do. Oh shit, we're just doing 70. Oh fuck, they're taking off. And you're like, to process that, you have to change your mindset a little bit.
I'll say now being back to being a civilian for the last year, I haven't had to chase anybody. I'll say, now that you say it out loud, I realize that is an unusual habit that you form of somebody running, like, "Oh, let me chase them."
Yeah.
So what, with your squads and everything like that, what do you think is your big, because I'll say, like, we've talked about this a little bit on here, but all the
Yeah.
squads are different. Every side of town is different. The, like, different squads, the sides of town are different. So what squad was your favorite?
I
Like,
don't
what
think
made it, you know?
I don't think it's really like a hidden secret, but the very first patrol squad I was like really associated with back then, like I think what really made that squad stand out was you had a lot of people in a lot of higher positions who was still proactively getting after it. They had been there for years and they were like, hey, we're not stopping. You can't stop. We're doing work.
Yeah.
Like we're going to stop cars. We're going to go to hot calls. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And to me, that was just like super inspiring. I think a lot of things have changed since then. for the worse, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
You got those senior guys that are knocking down doors and crap and chasing people, then you can't look bad being a new guy not doing it.
100%. Back then it's like Charlie's 32. That dude's freaking 48, 50 years old. Like, I'm not letting him just kick a door in. I'm doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
But now it's like, oh, my 32, he's been here for 4 years and, he sits in a
Mhm.
parking lot all day. There's just a difference in policing and a difference in like how the squad was, brought in. I think it was super important that I got sat down by the senior guys like, hey, you're new. You're going to go to the bullshit, but when the hot stuff comes out, you're going to go to that too. You got to learn how to handle it so you can pass that along when it's your time to pass it along. And I think nowadays, like a big crutch is there's not enough to pass stuff along. Or when they do pass stuff along, it's wrong. Or it's not as, I don't necessarily say violent, but it's not as like active. There's a lot of
Do you
like,
think people are scared or lazy? Like officers are scared, not scared like scared of the community, but scared to get in trouble over things, or are they just disgruntled? What do you think the issue is?
I think there's a slew of things that could really be broken down to you, and I hate giving people a scapegoat of like, "Oh, you're not
Yeah,
scared of, like, doing the work, you're scared of getting in trouble for doing
yeah,
the work." But at the same time, I think there are people that are scared of doing the work. I think there are a
yeah.
lot of people that are scared of, like, looking dumb in front of others. To me, like, if you're not making mistakes, you're probably not doing your best, Like, you're gonna make mistakes doing this job, you should make mistakes doing this job. Now that's doesn't necessarily mean you have to make crazy,
Yeah.
mistakes.
Those perfect police officers I don't trust because you've never done enough to get in trouble for anything. If
100%,
you don't have anything in your jacket for getting in trouble, then you probably haven't done enough.
and I think that's still a fair statement, if you've never been in trouble and
Uh-huh.
you're like, "I've never been in trouble, I'm a great cop."
Yeah.
Like, to me, it means you haven't done enough.
Yep.
I'll never forget one of my first good traffic stops. I got this guy, they both had guns, there was a lot of weed in the car. And me being young and dumb, I'm like, "Oh, it's just marijuana. This is gonna be a misdemeanor." And I still have the freaking scale. I had a supervisor at the time. I called him like, "Hey, I'm at the jail turning this evidence, and I have another officer telling me I fucked up. Here's the weight of everything. I forgot there was a fucking weight involved. What can I do? Because I really fucked this up." And, that supervisor at the time was like, "Wow, you're kind of fucking dumb. But thanks for calling. Here's what we're gonna do." And he gave me a scale. I've had that freaking scale since. Um, I'll never forget it. I fucked up on that, but I learned.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's part of it is like if you're not making mistakes, you're probably not learning. But if you're not putting yourself out of your comfort zone to make those
Mhm.
mistakes, there's no way you're gonna learn.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of modern people, not even just
Mhm.
police, but people, they're so scared to make a mistake because they're so scared of what people are going to say about, well, you did that. That's embarrassing.
Mhm.
Like, who cares?
Yeah.
You can't learn unless you're making mistakes.
I mean, like, yeah, there's lines in the sand. I'm just gonna say this for anybody else listening. It's not a cut. There's lines in the sand where we know that that is not a learnable mistake. That's a moral mistake. They're completely different things. There are things that you can learn from that are acceptable. Police actually get in discipline all the time for like little things, writtens, oral reprimands, all this other crap. For hey, you didn't use your blinker and a citizen saw you. But
Yeah.
uh yeah, that's just day-to-day life kind of stuff. But if you don't actually get out there and work, then nobody actually sees you and nobody has something to complain upon. You can't be the focus of somebody's hatred that day
Yeah.
because you weren't out there doing something.
If you sit in a parking lot all day, yeah, I mean, cool.
Yeah.
Like, you're not in trouble. You can sit around like, I've never been in trouble. Every 3 years, I get a good conduct award.
Yeah.
Hey, congrats.
I have never gone to work.
Hey, 8 years, 9 years, I haven't seen one yet.
17 years. I never got one.
And I don't want to take away from people that follow the rules to the T because there
Yeah,
there are
yeah.
there are different personalities. Am I that personality type?
Mhm.
No. Are you that personality type? No. But there are people that are.
Yeah.
I don't want to take away from them, but at the same time, like everybody has a different role to play, and I feel like my role in general, I'm kind of in the middle of a lot of stuff.
You think that's on purpose or you just happen upon it?
It's hard to say. I think initially it was accidental, and then as I've continued to do stuff, it is on purpose.
Because because you've learned how to be in the middle of it in a
Yes.
controlled way. Yeah.
You know, I much prefer I'm in the middle of it and I'm doing this and I'm doing that as opposed to somebody else because you can
Yeah.
articulate a little bit better than the person who hasn't done that stuff.
Yeah.
And you can say, hey, look, like, I got this.
I'm gonna ask you right now on a quick break. Do you need to piss?
I do.
Do it.
Keep that in.
All right. I'm gonna
Breaking news.
see. So you can't have anybody around you, like outside the door,
Oh, I
or
can't. If somebody's like knocking on the door, I just
yeah.
can't piss. Like, I'll have a UTI.
I wish I'd known this. I would have been knocking on that fucking door every time.
Go for it.
Like,
I'll pee my pants sitting here on the couch. Somebody
yeah.
were to knock on that door, I'd be done. I'm not peeing for another 40 minutes.
Damn it. Have you not had to pee in a bottle in a van with the rest of them yet?
Not with the group. Now, in the unmarked,
Okay.
while we were sitting on a house, I have had to pee in the bottle. I've missed. I peed on the seat.
He didn't just fit in the
No, it didn't just fit in the bottle.
Yeah, yeah. It's I've had to pee in the bottle before. I cut off the top part of it, right? But it's still extremely hard for a girl to have aim.
Made it a
especially
more
if the van is
open
moving.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not so easy. All right, so you ready for the hard hitter question?
Go
Now
for
that
it.
we've taken a pee break.
Yep. We've peed. We've got the stress out of our body. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So you know what my next question is gonna be, I think.
I have no idea.
What the fuck? Yes, you do. Oh my god. Okay, so I don't know if we should put his name in here or not.
Whatever you want to do.
What do you think? It'd be proper or not to put his name in here? Would it be a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it'd be a good thing. I think it's fine.
Okay, so I like to say murder, so I say Crumby's murder because I feel like we always say, "Oh, an officer fell in the line of duty." It's like
Right.
they didn't fucking fall in
They
a
didn't
goddamn
fall.
pit.
They were murdered.
They were murdered.
Mhm.
So I like to use the harsh term, because that's what it was.
Yep.
What was your response? When you showed up and stuff, kinda what
Sure.
unfolded? Because I think it's hard for a lot of people to grasp how you just kinda continue to do your job when you're in the midst of, like, the chaos, and it's almost like a detachment,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
hard to describe. I think with Crumby, so for me, I was in the top 4, right, to respond. We all got there kind of the same time. I know Albert and Crumby got there before us, but that's because we took the wrong turn. We went to the right and went to where we realized Crumby and Albert were. I'll distinctly remember the first thing we got out the car, and all I hear him go is, I think that was gunfire. And at that point, being in the middle of it, I had already experienced auditory exclusion just because, like, my body was already like, boop, this is top tier stuff. Like,
Yeah.
hey, game's on.
Well, at that point, did something come out to know? Like, had already something come out on the radio, or you just knew from the call in general?
When we had just got out of our cars, the
Yeah.
only thing we knew is that the caller had been shot. When we got out of our cars, that's when Albert keyed up and goes, "Officer down, I've been hit." And I can't remember who said it, but we went, "Fuck." Kind of like this is real. And I think when you get to the point of this is real, especially in a situation like that, it's hard to process a lot of what's going on. You revert to your training. You know, you're not going to do any critical thinking of, okay, if I move here, this is going to happen. If I do this, it's more along the lines of, I need to go from point A to point B. I need to figure out where they're at. So I remember getting out. I remember the radio going off of officer hit, officer down. I remember us rushing around the corner, guns out. And when we peek around the corner, I distinctly remember Crumby at the top of the steps, down on the ground. And for me, I think in my career, that was the very first time that I felt, uh, I'll say scared.
Yeah, this seems like it's a good term to use, yeah.
Like at that point, I'd been a cop for 4 or 5 years, and I'd never really been scared. But I think seeing him down on the ground and knowing what had occurred based off the radio traffic, like, yeah, I was scared. But I think there's a lot of people in that situation who would be scared. You know, you'd be silly not to be.
Yeah.
But I think in that situation, even if you're scared, you can't freeze. It's not the time to freeze. It's time to have your body go ahead and do what you've trained it to do. I remember we popped around the corner, made a quick game plan. I was the cover guy. So we popped up, went up the steps. The other officers, they grabbed Crumby. I'm pulling cover. I mean, there was blood on the steps, blood at the base of the steps. So, you know, I'm sitting there like, I'm sure dispatch has said it, but I don't remember what room I'm supposed to
Yeah.
be actually covering down. All I know is we got 4 or 5 doors here, and I'm gonna make sure that if any of them open, they're gonna get addressed. Obviously, unbeknownst to us, we didn't know that the guy inside had already been shot. You know, Albert put out as much information, as much pertinent information as he could, and so once Crumby got removed from the stairs, me and another officer stayed up there, and, I'm relaying on the radio like, "Hey, I need to know where he's at. I need to know where Albert's at because he gave some kind of an apartment number. Again, I'm in the middle of everything. I'm not going to remember that. My adrenaline is through the roof. So whatever's in front of me, that's what I'm going to address. And after we got Crumby out of there, I don't want to say we knew it was too late at that point, but we had a feeling. You can even when you've done the job for, so let's say 3 years,
Mhm.
you kind of know, especially
You can
given
tell, yeah.
given body signs and everything like that, you kind of know. But also, when you're in the middle of everything, you don't have time to process that. So even though subconsciously I knew, consciously, you can't think about that because there's still another officer out there that I need to locate. And so I'm keying up on the radio asking dispatch, can you repeat that for me? Because my brain is going a million miles an hour.
Have you
It's
ever re-listened to the audio? The
never.
radio?
I haven't. I'm not sure if that's an option, but I also don't know if that's like a
Yeah, I
healthy
don't know either. I have no idea, I'm just asking.
it's one of those things, it's like, do you want to relive it?
Yeah.
Like, I think in some regards, I think it's healthy, but I also think in some regards, like, what is there a positive net come from it?
I'd say no. I mean, I've some of the situation I've been in, I've had the opportunity because I gained supervisor status to be able
Mhm.
to pull some stuff, and I watched some stuff I wish I hadn't known. So I'd say it's a good thing that you don't. I mean, not saying that you did anything bad, but
Sure.
just because you'd be second guessing even more
Yeah,
crap.
and we'll get to second guessing.
There's always second guessing.
I mean, if you're a cop and you don't second guess, it's kind of,
Yeah, it's
you
just
know,
whether or not it eats you alive.
especially in a situation like that. I'll never forget kicking that door, kicking that door, kicking that door, not getting any progress, feeling frustrated with myself about the whole thing because it's like, why the fuck is this door not kicking open? I'm not realizing he's against the door. I'll never forget seeing her hands shakily come out the door, giving her commands like, show me your fucking hands and everything. And, I feel bad about it. I don't want to say, I wouldn't change anything that I did because, the situation is what the situation is. I can only go off of what I had at the time. And as far as like what my brain was processing, I knew he was in there. I didn't know if that was the apartment, that the hostage situation, the shooting situation that was going on. Just that's how my brain processed it. So she was shakily showing her hands. Another officer had taken control of her, and I rushed in there, cleared the rest of the apartment by myself, which, dangerous as it is, it'd
Mhm.
be one thing if I had somebody trusted right behind me who was like, "Hey, he's got that, me and you were in." I didn't have that. It was, "He's got that, I've gotta take the rest of it because
Yeah.
if we're gonna figure stuff out, if this is the threat, it's just me and him," as far as I remember. So, rushing through there, clearing that, the whole situation is very distinct to me today.
Or you see it and smell it and everything still?
Oh, 100%. I don't
Yeah.
think you ever forget, like, your first real traumatic experience and something that, like, personally affects you. This is somebody you see every day, and they've just been murdered,
Mm.
and you and a couple handful of other officers just carried him from the top of the steps to the bottom of the steps. You're hearing on the radio another officer who's been shot, and you're trying to figure out where he's at so you can assist him and save him.
Still not even knowing where the shooter actually is.
Still not
Yeah.
having any idea where the shooter's at? And again, maybe the dispatch said that. I mean, you've got so
Yeah, you
much going
can't
on in your
confirm, yeah.
brain. There's so much auditory exclusion involved in that just from the brain itself. And yeah, I mean, Albert saved a lot of lives that night. I'll say that 100%. I'll say,
Yeah.
he definitely saved my life. He saved his own life. That's another one who's in my own academy. We
Yeah.
sat next to each other. You don't think about like, hey, the person you sat next to for so
Yep.
long is going to be put in a situation like that. You don't think that the person that you've gone to these silly calls with is going to
Mhm.
be the next person who's been shot and gravely injured, and you're like kicking down doors trying to save his life.
Mhm.
Like, should you experience that? No. Nobody
Hopefully
should
not.
experience that. But is that something that it could happen? Percent.
Mm.
And to sit around and think that it won't happen is piss poor. You should be prepared for something like that. I'll say, thankfully, I had a lot of people, that I looked up to that have trained me to par along those lines. I love Kevin to death.
Mhm.
As far as FTOs go, Kevin is the one who taught me everything I know. The cop I am today is because of Kevin, but partially the cop I am today is because of you. But it's true. Like 30 Side West back then was such a different squad. Like it was so connected. The people on there, the choir practices, all of that. Like you don't see that nowadays. It was a different time of
Mhm.
policing and it doesn't feel like a different era. But I mean, hell, we don't do that anymore. A lot of squads don't do
Yeah.
that anymore. It is technically a different era.
And not to be philosophical about choir practices and shit, but to me, it serves a purpose. To know somebody off duty is to know them better on duty too. And
100%.
like you can read somebody so much better if you know them off duty too. That's I think why that crew got so much closer is because you hung out off duty.
Yeah.
It's vitally important for the survival of a team.
Yeah.
And not just like actual survival, but survival mentally too.
No,
And
100%.
man, I was gonna wait to say it, but I'll say this. It sounds fucking horrible, but I'm gonna say it because it's true. I was so fucking relieved. I was so relieved that it was Crumby because I didn't know him like that. And it was the first time an officer had died that I wasn't like super close to. And I was like, so glad it wasn't one of y'all. And that was a selfish thing, but it is what it is. I was like, thank God it wasn't like you or one of the, other
Yeah.
guys that I've was over or something
Yeah.
we were really
No.
close to.
And I
So,
and I get that. I get that mindset because in a time like that, what a lot of people don't realize, I know you and I know it because we've talked about this for an extended period. There's a lot that happened in the background with that whole day.
mhm,
Computer systems crashed, telephones crashed. There was a lot
mhm,
going on that information was delayed, it was
mhm,
interrupted. There was a lot involved with that. Nobody wants to say, I'm happy it wasn't so and so. I'm happy,
mhm.
it was this person. And I would never wish that on anybody.
No.
Never. But in our like jaded mindsets of things, of course, we're going to have people that we're close to. Of course, we're going to
Mhm,
have people that, when we hear something like, where did that happen at? Oh, fuck, that happened on that side of
mhm.
town. I know those people. All you can think about is like, is that my friend? Is that my family? Is that somebody who I'm super close to? Because you don't have the exact information at the time.
Oh, yeah.
I think in those high stress situations, there's so much information coming out. Who knows how accurate it is? I remember somebody saying like my name was involved in that, and it's like, what? Like the only thing my name was involved in was like I was second on scene, or
Yeah.
third on scene, however you want to describe it. Like it, and
Yeah, I wanna say I'd heard your name and, in my head, it wasn't too long after Billy. I was like, "Fuck, if it's you," I was like, "I don't know if I can work this. I don't know if I can do that shit again." Somebody that I fucking know that well, in my head, I'm already cussing you, like, "Fuck that guy." He's I think if you're in for it long enough, it's kinda like, "Oh, it's somebody I don't know, so I can work through it a little bit easier than before." But to let you go on with your story, so you're kicking in the door to get, the number 2 officer.
trying to kick in the door, and a lot of people that have done anything proactive, you'll understand that like apartment doors and hotel doors, you just can't fucking kick them in. You just can't fucking kick them in.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, let's be honest, even the Budgetel, you're gonna have to blow the fucking door up.
I feel like there's a couple apartments I've lived in where it was definitely like the wind blew the
Sure,
doors.
yeah, sure. There's some apartments where the wind fucking blows a little bit
Mhm.
hard,
But
but
where violence occurs, those
yeah.
apartment doors.
No, those doors are steel, they're reinforced with rebar. You're not fucking kicking them in. And of course, here's one of those situations where you're not kicking the fucking door.
Yeah,
I kicked
yeah.
that door, and the whole time I'm like, motherfucker, open.
It's not like the movies.
Yeah, it's not like the movies. You kick it one time, it explodes open. Everybody's like,
Oh
ah.
my god.
You're like, I'm the fucking police. I'm here to
Yeah.
save the fucking day. No,
No.
you kick that door, you're like, God damn it, it's not opening. Well, finally it opens, hands stick out, you're like, fuck, give me more fucking hands.
Yeah, yeah. Give me
Yeah.
12 hands. You only got 2. Give
I
me
see
fucking
fucking
hands.
2 hands. That's not 24, and fucking I'll never forget her hands stuck out, her hands were shaking, and I see at the bottom of the door, Albert slapping the door, just slapping it, and trying to get our attention. And he goes, "Hey, she's good."
I
But
know he was still talking at that point.
I'll say that given his injuries, the motherfucker is strong. That is a strong motherfucker.
I wouldn't. I'll be honest. If I saw him on the street, I'd be like, "Look at that little guy.
You
What a
look
good
at him,
life."
you look at him, and he's so unassuming,
I know.
but
I can take him, motherfucker.
hey, you're gonna have to fucking kill him 20 times over. That is a strong motherfucker.
Yeah, yeah, he is.
But yeah, I remember seeing her hands. I remember seeing him slap the door, him saying she's good. In my mind, I'm like, bullshit. We're gonna fucking clear this motherfucker. So while the other officer with me, he takes her, you know, I rush through. And, at that point, I'm assuming the others are behind me
Yeah, yeah,
because we're in this high stress, high intense situation. You're fucking pushing past beds, nothing. You go to the next room, nothing. And then you come back out and it's still you and the same person who was at the fucking door. You're like, where the fuck is everybody else at?
Mm.
Why the fuck is it just the two of us? My brain is so frazzled at that point. I just remember getting back out there and, that other officer grabbing Albert, like, hey, we're going to drag him. We're going to bring him out to Himsy. We're going to bring him out to fire, whoever it was. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And it felt like it was just fucking us the whole time. Maybe that's just like a part of the brain playing tricks on it of like, you were there, here's what you remember. But if that's what I remember, that's what I remember.
I think that's an accurate statement. The time that passed was pretty fucking quick.
Yeah.
And what you guys did, and people were coming. It's just people don't realize how long 30 seconds is when you're in the fucking thick of it.
No, 100%. And if you ask me how long do I think I was like in the middle of it,
Yeah,
I'll tell you, like it felt like an hour.
yeah.
It was probably maybe 40 seconds, but it felt
Mhm.
like a fucking hour. Yeah. I mean, that's some of the longest moments of my entire life. And I,
40 seconds long. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know what the exact time frame is.
Yeah.
It's not an hour. I
Yeah.
can tell you that. And, I'll remember helping them get Crumby down. I remember getting Albert out of there, rushing him. I'll remember seeing Fire trying to work on Albert or Crumby. I can't remember which. And, the whole time, all I can think of is, fuck, we still got an active shooter. So I turn around, I yell at Fire. I'm like, hey, get the fuck out of here. We're in line
Yeah.
of sight. We got to get out of here.
Mm.
And they're scrambling. I mean, they did an amazing job. Those firefighters, I can't remember their name, but, great,
Yeah.
great people. They ran up in there. They helped us. They did what they had to do. I'm glad they got acknowledged at our little ceremony we had a year ago because they deserve it 100%.
So what happened after you got back out?
So we had set up a perimeter and all that stuff. After we had actually figured out what was going on and had gotten everything calmed down to a certain
Mhm.
extent. It turned into a hostage rescue thing. I remember I needed to separate myself from that situation. But the whole time, all I could think about really was like, I was just in the middle of all this shit and now I'm separated from it. And for me, I like to be in the middle of shit. I think a lot of your cops who are proactive, a lot of your cops who are used to being like go to, they want to be in the middle of that shit. And having to remove yourself from the middle of it is so hard. Like, I don't want to say I regret it, but at the same time, I just don't feel 100% about.
Well, what could you have done? I mean, what would you have done? Because at that point, swatting them, they
No,
could have gotten there.
100%.
So
There are much more qualified people there. And I'll say that 100%. Like you're right. SWAT was there. They were doing their thing. You had people that are trained for this particular situation that were present at that point.
Mhm.
But I think when you're involved from the very beginning of something like a critical incident like that,
Yeah.
like you feel like you have to see it through.
Mhm.
Especially when it's involving somebody that you went through the academy with.
Yeah.
That's somebody that you've known your entire career.
You're invested in it. Yeah.
Like, you're not talking about somebody that you has been on your squad for a month or 2. You're talking about somebody that you have gone through the entire situation with. Of course, I wanna be in the middle of that. And even more so when you're one of the first officers on scene and, you've heard the gunshots, you've seen the outcome. Like, you wanna be in the middle of all that. But you also have to understand that that's not necessarily your time and place for that stuff.
Why do you think you have such like a healthy ability to discuss it? I mean, maybe that's maybe processed it better afterwards, but I'll say that of all of my friends and all of the things, and maybe it's a generational thing because my generation sucked at that still. Maybe you guys are better, but I don't wanna say you're better.
I am better. Just say it.
You know, like, do you think something helped you with the process of it, or do you think you have processed it yet? Because maybe it'll haunt you in 10 years.
Have I processed it 100%? I'm gonna
Yeah.
say a big fat no to that.
Why? Why do you say no?
I still think I'm waiting for, like, a big, like, drawn out thing of, like, here's the very beginning of this, and here's the very end of this. There's
Somebody to actually debrief you?
a full debrief,
Yeah.
and when you're in a specialized unit, typically you debrief after every major event.
Mhm.
I mean, hell, SWAT debriefs after every hit they do. We debrief after everything we do. And it's a similar situation where I expect to debrief after a major event like that, and I haven't received that debrief yet. As far as a positive outcome to it, like how do I talk about it? That takes time. Like, I'm sure you're aware of it, and I know you're aware of it because we've talked about it numerous times. I was not okay to begin with, and it's okay to not be okay,
Yeah.
especially when you're trying to process something like that. I still think there's some things that the department as a whole can work on. And I think the debrief of a critical incident like that is for
Mhm.
sure one of them.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I hope that that's something that they change in the future because unfortunately, it's gonna happen again.
I mean, unfortunately, it sucks, but there will be another officer that will be killed in the line of duty, given whatever situation that may be.
Mhm.
And to think otherwise is naive, especially given those of us that have, again, been present for something like that. It took a lot of time to get to the point I am about it. And I know you're aware of it, and there's other people that are aware of it, where for the longest, I blame myself for a lot of it. And I think in a critical incident along those lines, there are a lot of people that blame themselves for stuff.
Yeah. When you
Um,
go back to your professionalism of your career, right? If I'm good at my
yeah,
job, then why is anybody getting hurt?
no, 100%. And I think that's something that really haunted me. And you can look at, again, any other critical incident, and you're going to have some officer who will say, like, that haunts me still. And if you don't, I think you're lying to yourself, or there's some underlying thing that's not being addressed. In this particular situation, I feel like, of course, I'm haunted by it. I don't wanna say it feels like a failure on my part, but to think of it any other way is very difficult.
Yeah, you can't think of it as a success because you're like, oh,
Yeah, it's
yeah. It's like,
yeah, to think
oh,
of something like that as a
yeah.
success, there's just no way.
So otherwise, it's a failure in your head. Yeah, I get it. But you can't just think of it as being present either because it's like, well, I didn't just witness it; I partook in it. So.
No, 100%, and I think that's one of the things that's so hard to come by, is that you have a lot of officers that were there.
Mm,
And I appreciate every single person that showed up, but just because you were there doesn't mean you participated.
mm,
I can say I'm present for a lot of stuff.
yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean I was a part of the integral part of
Mhm.
whatever went down. In this particular situation, I can say I was a part of that. Me and very, very, very few others. And I don't wish that on anybody. But to say it doesn't change your mindset about a lot of things and doesn't affect you would be
Mhm.
lying.
So when you guys got to the hospital, I'll be honest, I don't my timeline's kinda screwed up. Don't really remember when the news was broken to you guys about Crumby. I don't remember, but
I'll say I knew Crumby had passed away on scene.
okay.
I remember having another officer who was with me in the midst of things come up to me, pretty much grab me in the back and go, "It's not looking good." Himsy said, "No, he's not. He's no longer with us." And when you're still on scene, you can't process that fully. You don't have the time to process that.
Mhm.
But I think as a whole, there's a lot the department could have done in that situation to kind of assist with how I felt. I remember, my vehicle was on the scene, so it had to stay there. It was like, "Hey, you're gonna ride with this person to the hospital." I didn't know that person. I wasn't close with that person. So you're telling me I've got to now ride from the scene to the hospital, the
Yep.
person I'm not very familiar with. And here I am, crying my eyes out because I've just gone through this extremely stressful and
Mhm.
intense thing in my life. And I don't know how to process this completely. And now I'm in a ride where this person is trying their best to make me feel good and they're trying to, fish for information because again, we're all cops, right? We're going to
Yeah.
fish for information. It's tough. That was tough.
Yeah, because that was the first time. I mean, all incidents are individual, right? But that one
Sure.
was a major one.
Yeah,
Having 2 hurt like that where we thought we were gonna lose 2. When you got to the hospital, who was did you feel like at least the camaraderie and the people that you were there with, did you feel like that was kinda rebonded?
for sure. When I got to the hospital and I realized the rest of my squad was there, I definitely felt some kind of connection. But it's so hard to describe the feeling you have to being someone present to that situation as opposed to not being present to that situation. Because we all felt bad,
Yeah.
but to be directly involved in that, it's such a crazy and surreal feeling. And even at the end of it all, even nowadays, I feel like it's so looked over. I feel like it's something that people just kind of glaze over. And to me, that doesn't really bother me to some level.
That's a them thing and not a you thing,
No,
right?
100%.
I was gonna say they just don't know how to they don't know how to react.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that should be addressed. But at the same time, I've been here for almost 10 years now, and then you still have people in a position that don't even know my name. I'm not asking for you to go out here and be like, "Oh, that's that guy." And the people that matter to me, they know. But you
Yeah.
still have people out here who don't know the full story of everything. I feel like I'm telling a similar story to a bunch of different people at sometimes. It's like, how do you not know?
I think there's a reaction to trauma that does everybody a disservice, where we get worried because there's feelings involved, so we're not gonna approach this subject whatsoever, when it boils down to it, we're all cops and or you guys are all cops, and you all kinda wanna analyze the situation for what it is too, and you need it for processing.
Yeah.
So all of that should still be occurring after the fact, but I think that's also a generational thing, and the ones that are the powers that be are way up there in the generational gap, and, they're like, "Let's avoid this. That's the way that we need to do it."
Yeah.
Mm,
I've talked to some people that were involved in the situation to some extent, and they've said, "What's kind of the point at this point?" Because it's been so long. And I get that perspective too. I don't want to say that they're being too far removed from it or everything, because
mhm,
everybody reacts differently to every situation. For me personally, I think I need it.
I
I'm one of
think of
those that needs to know, like, here's what started
mhm,
everything. Here's what ended everything. But you're gonna have people who think that it's too much, that it will affect them too emotionally. If you don't have emotions in a lot of what you involve yourself in, uh, you don't get the same effect or feel for what you do. And I
yeah,
don't want to say I'm out here like all touchy feely, huggy for everything, but you've got to have some kind of investment into what
mhm.
you're doing to really make that difference.
I'd be more worried about somebody that doesn't acknowledge their emotions on something that is completely oblivious to everything that's going on because they're the ones that are gonna go off or not react appropriately to an event.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are unpredictable. So going back to the hospital, God, I feel like I'd been at the hospital so many fucking times for things, but that one, in particular being that it was all of you guys and I loved, I'd say about 70% of you guys. That killed me internally to have
Yeah.
you guys experience that. Because in my head, I was like, "Okay, cool, they won't have that." And then you guys got that, and then
Mhm.
you especially, and the couple others that were
Yeah.
with you, because I knew that was gonna change you. Like,
Oh,
I knew it was gonna
uh,
fucking affect you guys to such a degree,
yeah.
and
You'd be crazy to think going through something like that wouldn't affect you.
yeah.
And I'll never say it didn't affect me because that'd be lying. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a vital, pivotal moment in my career that has changed a lot for me. And to say otherwise would be a disservice. I think anybody who's experienced something similar, they'll say the same thing. It's changed how they operate.
Mhm.
It's changed, how they react to things. Rightfully so for all of it. You can only be sad for so long before you have to use it as a learning moment, as a teaching moment. And I always used to think it was so funny to have a lot of cops, older cops, say, "You won't get it until you've done it." That's one of those things. You will not get it until you've been a part of it. You
You
won't.
hope nobody else has to be part of it, so
Yeah,
it's like
and
a you're like, "I hope I'm on this island."
and it's one of those things where you never wish it on anybody
Yeah.
else. You would never wish it on anybody else because it sucks. And when you experience it, you have to be able to handle it, whatever whatever that means for you. For me, that meant going through therapy. I had to go through therapy. There was no way I was going to survive without therapy. And I will tell anybody who will listen, go to therapy. However long it takes, I think it's vital that when you experience something similar to that, some kind of trauma like that, that you go and you talk to somebody outside.
Mhm.
And that's not to say, I didn't talk to you or I didn't talk to other people
Yeah.
because obviously you guys are present. You guys have experienced a lot. And, you and certain others in particular, I'm close with. You're basically my family. So, of course, I'm going to go to you before I go to anybody else. And I think we had plenty of talks about everything involved.
What could have been done better? Because I mean, I know you guys had to sit there and process and stuff, and peer support was still fairly new.
I think in that situation, to me personally,
Yeah.
it was like, hey, I get what you're trying to do. You want to talk about what's going on and everything. But
Mhm.
to me, it's like, fuck off. Like, you weren't involved. That's not to say other people weren't like appreciative of everything else going
Yeah, yeah.
on. But to me personally, it was one of those where I'm still processing everything that's going on. Like, you're asking
Mhm.
me how I'm feeling, you're trying to help me. And I totally get it. You're coming from a great
Mhm.
place. But given the time and everything, like all I could think about was like, leave me the fuck alone. I don't want any part of that bullshit. I'm still like in the middle of this. Despite the fact being in the hospital, everything was still ongoing because it wasn't done. And it wasn't going to be done until there was some kind of finality to it. Like until someone was like, hey, it's done. Like
Mhm.
this is the outcome. Like that sucked because we already kind of knew. Those of us that were there first, we knew even pulling him down from the stairs, what the situation was, what it probably was. But you can't think about that shit in the time.
Mhm.
That's not something you want to linger on. You still have another officer on the radio like, "Hey, I'm hit. I need help." So you can't detract from everything else you've got going on being like, "Oh, fuck." You don't get that "Oh, fuck" moment until everything's done. Moment is a tough one. That's a tough moment to just sit there and be like, "Oh, fuck, there's still more work to be done." I like to think I'm pretty positive. I like to think I'm a good aspect to a lot of different groups in the department, but even then, because I was worthless to all of that. But that's the first time I've ever experienced something like that, and that's probably the first time a lot of people have experienced something like that. So, I don't really fault myself for it, not anymore.
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't. Most people don't have that experience. Even in law, I think people think law enforcement, like, oh, you get in shootouts every day and all this other stuff. Luckily, that shit doesn't happen every day, but it's rare to have be in the situation that you guys were in. So I think you guys handled it the best way that any cop could.
That was a lot to struggle with, I'll say, coming to the conclusion of it all of no matter what I did, the outcome would have been the same.
Did you get a good support system? Was your support system sufficient? Was it what you needed? I mean, because I know everybody needs time, right? Some
Sure.
people are like, leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
I know I'm that person. I'll leave me the fuck alone.
Right.
But and to go back to the peer
Yeah,
support
yeah.
thing too, I don't know if this ever gets addressed, but I think sometimes the peer support's role is to be that person that somebody says, "Hey, fuck off." Sometimes that's the job of them is to be told, "Hey, fuck off," but at least you put it out there of, "Hey, listen, we're trying and we care," and sort of stuff. So
Um,
I don't think anybody holds you at fault for being like, "Fuck off." I think that is a correct reaction in our line of work or in your line of work.
I think peer support did a good job. I do. It's a lot to take on, especially when you have people who have never been a part of a situation similar to that, who will probably
Yeah.
never be a part of a situation similar to that.
Hopefully not.
Exactly. Hopefully
Yeah.
not. Peer support did the best they could, but it's also hard to have something like that work for you when they
Mhm.
haven't experienced something you've experienced. But I also think that comes to a point where you need to have a good support system outside of just that. You need to have a support system where if you do get involved in something like that, you have somebody you can call who has been in something similar. I think you helped out a lot. I know you and I discussed a lot initially. But even so, given all everything you've been a part of, it still didn't completely cover everything. It's one of those things that you just can't cover.
Yeah. Every situation is singular in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing's the same as the last thing.
Mm,
And to think like that would be, ridiculous.
yep. So do you feel still close? to those guys that you ended up on scene with at that point in time? Do you guys feel sort of the unspoken bond?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of it, goes down to nonverbal stuff. I think nobody wants to continuously verbalize like, "Hey, man, remember when we did this?" Like, nobody
Mhm.
wants to remember that shit. Not but I think overall, those involved in that direct situation, yeah, we're still close.
But so, um, to go back to the whole timeline of
Yeah,
things, and you guys are at the hospital. You finally go home. I don't remember when you do because I tend to black out on a lot of this stuff.
sure.
But you go home, but I just don't remember when you go home. How did that? Did you just stay up for a while? Did you just?
Yeah, or we probably went home about 3 or 4 AM-ish, so we're there
Mm-hmm.
at the hospital, we get notified that, yes, in fact, Garrett did pass. The coroner, he comes out and, goes, "Hey, look, if you guys wanna come to DFS, Department of Forensic Science, for the passing of the body, you guys come on to that." So, of course, we went, which was another tough experience. I'm out of it at that point.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm a zombie.
You could tell you were a zombie. You could tell you were not currently present.
I didn't know what planet I was on at that point, and I think, there's a couple people that were in a similar situation.
You were those people, like, when you're talking to, what you hear is that, "Oh," you know what I mean? Like in the news.
Everybody sounded like the parents from Charlie
Yeah,
Brown. You're like,
yeah,
"Wah, wah,
yeah,
wah, wah,
yeah,
wah, wah, wah,
yeah.
wah,
You're
wah,
like,
wah,
"What the
wah, wah, wah."
fuck?"
Like, I'm sitting there and, you or somebody else would come up to me, and all I hear is, "Wah, wah, wah,
Yep,
wah,
yep.
wah, 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 wah,
I
wah,
felt
wah,
that's
wah."
what you were hearing too. I'm like,
Yeah,
"He doesn't hear shit."
I'm like, "Yep, uh-huh, uh-huh," and that shit is
Yeah.
not processing. Uh-huh. Alright, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
do what I'm about to do, and I would just meander through the hospital, go into the bathroom where I'm like, fuck, I don't know what's fucking going
Yeah,
on. Where am
yeah.
I? What universe is
Could
this?"
you now another could you pee in the hospital
No,
without
because I had so many people fucking following me around. It was a nervous wreck, I'd fucking meander somewhere, and next thing I know, I open the bathroom, and there's like 12 people. I was like, "You okay? You good?" And of course, I
Yeah,
appreciate it,
yeah.
but
Just trying to piss.
at the time, I'm like, "I'm trying to fucking space out and pee. Like, I can't do this right now."
Yeah, yeah. I always hate it when you walk through and people start reaching for you, like, "Don't fucking touch me."
Oh,
Just
yeah.
don't touch.
I'm not a crier, and I think that's one of the only times I've
What?
yeah,
Yes.
surprise, and that's one of the only times I think I've, cried at the department so far.
I mean, I think that's forgivable.
Um
I think that's okay. Who was the coagulant of that group of people that were there? Was there one person that kinda kept you guys afloat in that group that showed up, or were you guys just all kinda leaning on each other?
I think it was a group effort of leaning on each other. I don't think there was necessarily one particular person somebody looked to as like, okay, this guy's the staple. It was a very tough situation for us. And it doesn't matter what we did or what we said. You just can't force or expedite that process. It's
Yeah.
something that you just have to process. It sucks. It's scary. It's sad. It's miserable, but if you don't go through that process, then you don't get it.
You've done really well. I could put that in a more flowery context, but you've done really well. I think you took a bad fucking situation, you processed it how you should have, or how you needed it to
Yeah.
process it, and I mean, it is dude, I can probably count how many times I've seen somebody come healthy on the other side of things, and I hope that that perception is correct. Like, you seem like you processed it correctly.
Yeah. I mean, I've processed it the best I could. Does that necessarily mean it is 100% processed? No. There's still lingering side effects to it all. But I think if you do this job long enough, there's no way
Yeah.
some of the stuff you do, you're not going to have some kind of side effect from it.
So what still lingers on you then?
I can still hear the gunshots. I can still smell the gunpowder. I can still see the blood if I really think about it. But ultimately, I can't sit there and linger on that one particular moment because there's so much more I have to get accomplished.
I agree. And I know I said this before, my timeline of stuff sucks. Did you get rhabdo after Grumpy? Before?
I got rhabdo before Grumpy.
Okay, okay. At first, I was gonna say, did you use that as a failure of coping mechanism after these?
No, I attempted to be a killing machine well before that situation
Yeah.
became a
All the people to get rhabdo. Just for the
um
record, since this is a podcast, He's an awesome human being. I would not put him up there as, winning the Muscle Man competition.
Whoa.
For you to be hospitalized.
Hospitalized for, Olympic athletes get rhabdo. Let's not kill ourselves here. So remember that. Olympic athletes get rhabdomyolysis, and what did I get? Rhabdo. Olympic athlete.
I don't think those two correlate.
Oh yeah, that was for sure before everything happened.
Right.
Those of you that haven't heard said story, I decided to work out of the blue. It's the maximum.
Just decided to fucking do it all of a sudden.
To the maximum level you could, because I'd never do anything at the bottom level.
Yeah, let me ease into it.
And yeah, I did that for about 4 or 5 days. Maximum level, no breaks. By day 4, I couldn't raise my arms above my shoulders. And I thought, that's just fucking muscle. You work through that shit. The end of day 4, my pee would look like sweet tea. I thought that was weird. And I said, you know what? If I wake up in the morning and it's still like that, I'll go to the doctor. I woke up in the morning, it was bright red. I said, I'll still go to the doctor. I do pee in a cup for them. It was all blood in said cup. It was just a red liquid cup.
Jesus.
That I peed out. And the doctor looked at me and goes, I don't even have to test this. You're admitted. And there I was in the hospital with rhabdo for about 4 or 5 days.
After 4 or 5 days of working out.
And it only took about
hospital for 4 or 5 days.
It only took about 3 or 4 days of working out. And I was on double IV drips. I could have died.
Yeah, I mean, from the floor you were on, I thought you were dying.
Yeah,
I was like, Jesus.
I was
man,
I was on the respiratory floor.
Oh, okay. I just know the floor is a lot more quiet than your room, so I was like, are you okay? Because every other room is awfully quiet.
Yeah, I was fine, except for the fact that the nurse I had was a respiratory nurse, not like a whatever nurse covers rhabdo. So when my kidney failed again.
Damn those kidneys.
Yeah, those damn kidneys. It required a special nurse to come in from whatever the kidney floor was up to the respiratory floor.
The kidney floor?
There's different floors. I survived.
Yeah, thankfully. Yeah, yeah. If you had died from rhabdo after 3 or 4 days of working out,
I'd have been pissed. Oh, is this how I die? No.
I can't tell you how many times somebody had to repeat it. I'm like, no, what is he in the ER for? Rhabdo. No, that's for people that work out. What is he in the hospital
for Olympic athletes.
Is he in the hospital?
He's in the hospital for something. It's not that.
No. He's dying.
Yeah, my kidney was going into failure. And I got you coming up there giggling and shit.
I'm sorry. That's my reaction to everything.
Oh, I got you a puzzle. You can work on this fucking puzzle.
I didn't get you a puzzle.
Did you not? I thought it was a puzzle.
I don't remember. I got you something, but I don't remember I don't think I was.
You gave me a Men's Health magazine. Here's Men's Health.
Yes, that does sound correct. I do believe that was so.
Yeah, it was a great time going through rhabdo. I didn't die, which is great.
Yeah, it's good. Out of all the things that could take you out, that would not have been on my list.
It was not on my list.
So I'm glad you made it through that to then go through your traumatic event.
Yeah, I survived that only to fucking a few months later just go through the worst moment of my life.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, to whomever believes whomever, you're like, thank you, God, for this. And he's like, gotcha. Here's this you're going to go to experience now.
Oh, okay. You survived rhabdo. Here.
So you survived this.
We're going to put you in the middle of something.
Fucking war zone in the middle of a city.
Have fun.
Yeah. Good times.
Yeah, just great fucking time.
I'll be honest, when you walk through those doors and I'm like, that guy's gonna be a cop.
I appreciate that, to be honest with you. I really do appreciate a lot of people looking at me and going, that guy? Are you fucking kidding me? Because at least when I show results, people are like, oh fuck, that guy. I mean, a lot of people are like, how the fuck did you become friends with Tess? I'm like, I don't fucking know
if I should be offended to that or not.
Yeah, like, is Tess a piece of shit or am I a piece of shit?
I really don't know.
I don't know either. It just worked out the way it worked out.
Yeah, it's because you were funny. I was like, that guy, he's funny. I'm okay with that guy. Yeah. Well, to be on a serious note, again, I don't do that very often. There are very few people that I've worked with some fucking amazing people. And I can't say that more. God, some fucking amazing people over the years. But if I had to pick a crew and I got to handpick people knowing that my life and their life would be in the balance, you would be one of that crew. No, I don't want you to lift heavy things and get Rab doing shit, but I trust you to make the right decisions when nobody can even think of a decision to make because everybody's head is filled with the crap that's going on. And I think that's where I don't want to call you an alpha male, right? Because like that's fucking weird. I think people say, "Oh, they're alphas" or whatever. I think that they confuse that with they think, "Oh, those are the people at the top of the mountain, pat on their chest, going like, oh, I'm great, oh, I'm great."
Hmm.
And no, they're fucking not. They're the ones that are continually walking up the mountain. Know that there's no fucking end. There is no top to that mountain. You're gonna continually try to get better and try to get just work with your team and stuff around you to get
Yeah.
to the top of the mountain. But there is no fucking end to it.
Hmm.
And I think that you figured that out very early on in your career, knowing that you just have to work to continually get better and try to reach this perfection that we all know never exists in law enforcement whatsoever.
Yeah.
But the only thing that really fucking matters is those that you're walking up the mountain with.
Hmm.
And that is the alpha personality, not
Yeah.
the ones that are pretending they're at the top of the mountain, pounding their chest saying, oh, I'm so good.
Hmm.
Is the ones that are just silently fucking walking, doing their goddamn job and looking out
Yeah.
for those around them. So thank you for that. And I don't know if the explanation made any sense whatsoever.
No, I mean
Thanks.
it made perfect sense. You're gonna have people, especially in this career, who are like, I made your career.
Yeah.
Like
Bullshit.
I carried you to the top.
Yeah.
And for me, like I've never thought about that. It's never been I lifted them up to where I'm at and now they're here with me. I've done my silent trek
Mm-hmm.
and anybody that has attached themselves to me, I have willingly pushed in front of me. I have
Mm-hmm.
gone, hey, you're better than this. You're in front. And I think that's super important.
Well, is there anything that I did bring up that you want to talk about?
Anything you miss? I think a big thing that a lot of people like don't realize or kind of overlook is that you in particular played a pivotal role in a lot
Mm.
of people's careers.
You just make me uncomfortable.
I mean, I wouldn't be where I am without you. You know what
Yeah,
I
you
mean?
would be.
No, I wouldn't. Don't pass it off as
I
like,
try
you
to.
taught me a lot. And to say otherwise, to not give you the respect that you deserve and in those regards would be a disservice to you and be a disservice to myself. I respect you a lot. It
Dude, all I did was just
doesn't matter.
give you the fucking well, hey, yes, you can do this. That is literally all I did. Yes, you can do that. That is something you can do.
It doesn't matter though. Like there's a lot of people, and I think we can both agree nowadays that would not do that.
That's true. It's like,
Um,
hey, that is a good idea. I'm gonna take it and
Yeah.
sell it as my
I'm
own.
gonna take it. That's my idea. You
It's
came up with that?
it's
No,
m
the fuck you didn't. Shut the fuck up.
it's my precious. Wait, it's a bad idea? Wait, it was their idea.
Oh, that shit sucked. They came up with it. That's not something I ever dealt with you. I don't know how I wound up in the spaces that I wound up in, or the people that I know, the people I'm close with. But you played a pivotal role in all that.
You just belong in those spaces, man. Give yourself credit.
Yeah, I'm not giving myself credit.
I will facilitate whatever goals and stuff people have, but to get there, shit, that's the work, man. Hats off to you because you fucking did it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a good cop and not a shitbag. I'm like, damn, no, I had nothing to do with that one. No,
That guy,
no,
he's a shit.
hate
That guy
that guy.
sucks. He said, what about me? I didn't help him with shit. I mean, there's a lot of people nowadays, you can't say something similar about them,
Yeah, it's few.
like there's few and far between that really have done anything.
You guys scared the shit out of me half the time. You in particular.
Me in particular?
You in particular. Because I feel like you would jump off into shit. I mean, I'm sure that you knew, but in my head, I'm like, does he fully know what the fuck he just does? He just kicked over like a hornet's nest. Yeah, but you always seem to just get out of it just fine. I'm like, well, I guess he knows what the fuck he's doing.
I think nowadays people are scared to do that.
Yeah.
They're scared to shake the hornet's nest. They're scared to have their name out there.
That's how you fucking learn. You get to the situation where you're like, oh shit, I could die.
Yes.
And then somehow you don't.
And then
And
you
then
don't.
you learn.
And you're like, oh, fuck. That wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
So what do you need to accomplish, you think, to be able to close that book at 25 and leave in a healthy way? Or do you want to leave earlier?
I think the only way I could close out whatever chapter this is in my life in a healthy way for however long, just hearing somebody say, like, hey, I've looked up to you. You've done what I want to do. You've accomplished a lot of the stuff I want to have accomplished. What can you pass on to me? And after X amount of years, whatever it is, to have somebody be like, that guy taught me everything I know. That guy passed down this knowledge that he received. And that is a legacy I'd like to have positively continue on, large in part because of the people that have taught me in my career who have said, hey, this is what we used to do. This is how we used to do things. This is what you should do in this particular situation. To have somebody come back and be like, everything you taught me was the correct way. I wouldn't be where I'm at without those that have come before me, and in the same boat, those that are after me. If they're not passing the same torch, then I don't think policing as a whole will continue in a positive and appropriate manner. Everybody has their own different role, but I wouldn't change where I'm at for anything right now.
I think you're at where you're supposed to be until you figure out you want to be somewhere else. Well, I'll end it there then. Thanks for coming on and thanks for not dying.
I appreciate it. Thank you for keeping me alive.